I came to Pokhara for the mountains. What I got was street food at midnight, a flat tire in a Nepali workshop, tea made in a copper cup on fire, whitewater rapids I wasn't ready for, a cliff I jumped off, a cave full of sleeping bats, and the best view of my entire life from 1592 meters above Phewa Lake. Pokhara threw everything at me, and I said yes to all of it. Day 1 in Pokhara started with street food. Beef sheikh kebabs on charcoal. Momos, the big ones. Beef noodles being tossed in a flaming wok. Tibetan vegetables I've never seen before. I sat at a roadside stall with a plate of everything and thought, this is what I drove 2,500 kilometers for. Not the tourist restaurants, this. After food, I went to Phewa Lake. Not for the photos, but for the rafting. But this isn't the whitewater kind. Not yet. This is the calm version. A slow row to the center of the lake, and when you're out there, 360 degrees of mountains. Annapurna, Machhapuchhre. The whole range, reflected in the water so it still looks like glass. I didn't speak for a solid 2 minutes. I just sat there, floating, looking. That's it. The whole activity. And it might be the most peaceful thing I've ever done. Then the calm ended. I booked whitewater rafting with Rafting Adventure Nepal on the Upper Seti-Gandaki River. This is not the calm lake. This is the rapids. Grade 3 and 4. Water crashing over the front of the raft. And me, holding a paddle, listening to the guide yell commands, trying not to fall out. The Upper Seti cuts through a gorge outside Pokhara. The water is fast, the rocks are close, and you have to row as a team or the raft spins. There's something about 5 strangers paddling in sync while freezing river water hits you in the face. You become a team instantly. And then, the cliff.
Ready?
There's a spot on the Upper Seti where the guide pulls the raft over and points at a rock ledge. About 8 meters up, they said you can jump. I climbed up, stood at the edge, and looked down, and jumped. The water hits hard, the cold takes your breath, and then you surface and everyone is cheering, and you feel more alive than you have in weeks. We finished the rafting, got out of the water, and ate fried momos at a roadside stall, because in Nepal, fried momos solve everything. In the evening, I noticed the tyre, flat. After the Prithvi highway and everything else, something had finally given. I drove to a local Nepali workshop, not a branded service center, just a small garage with a mechanic who looked at the tyre, nodded and got to work. He patched it up in 20 minutes, charged almost nothing, refused a tip. I stood there watching him work and thought, this is the real Nepal, not the postcards, but this. That evening I walked along Lakeside and I saw something that I had never seen anywhere in India. A copper teacup on fire. Actual flames are on the metal. The vendor poured tea into the flaming cup and it sizzled, steamed, and then he poured the tea into a mud cup and handed it over to me. The tea was different, smoky, earthy. The mud cup adds its own flavor. I don't know if the fire is tradition or theatre. Honestly, I don't care. It was incredible. Then the food started. Fried prawns from a roadside stall. Sail roti, the ring-shaped Nepali donut I've been obsessed with. And the Sha Phaley chicken, a Tibetan stuffed bread deep-fried spicy fillet. And then we ended the night at KFC in Pokhara. I don't know why. It made sense at the time. The next morning, I woke up and walked to the balcony, pulled back the curtain, and there it was. Machhapuchhre, the fishtail mountain. Clear and close, the Annapurna range stretching beside it. The weather had cleared overnight. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes just looking. You drive all this way and you hope for this moment, and when it happens, it's better than you imagined. I immediately decided, the World Peace Pagoda, now. If you're enjoying this journey so far, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. More adventures are coming your way. On the way up, I saw soldiers marching in formation, disciplined, synchronized. Pokhara just gives you random moments like this. And then I reached the top. The World Peace Pagoda sits on a hill above Pokhara, and from there you see everything. Phewa Lake, the entire Annapurna range, the city below, all in one frame. I stood there for a very long time, not filming, not talking, but just looking. There's a view that makes you forget to take photos, and that is this view. On the way down, I saw the Pokhara village. Terrace fields, small houses, another world below the tourist lakeside. And on the drive back, Machhapuchhre appearing between the buildings, dominating the sky. The weather was perfect, and then my phone rang. Advanced paragliding. Weather is clear, we're coming to get you. They picked me up, free hotel pickup included in the price, and we drove up to Sarangot. Short hike to the launch site, and then when I reached the top, there were paragliders everywhere, hundreds of them. Colorful canopies filling the sky above Pokhara. It looked like a festival in the air. The pilot checked the gear, suited me up, and then we ran. And suddenly, I was flying. Phewa Lake from 1,592 meters. Pokhara city spreading out beneath me. The Annapurna range at eye level. The wind in my face, the silence. Just the sound of the wing and the air. I have done a lot of things on this trip, and this was the best thing. We landed in a field outside Pokhara. I was shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline, from joy, from the fact that I had just flown over one of the most beautiful places on earth. Back at the Airbnb, chicken bhutua, a traditional Nepali dish, spicy, smoky, and cooked with mustard oil and local spices. Exactly what I needed after flying. I walked back to the balcony, and Machhapuchhre was gone, covered in clouds. The weather in Pokhara changes this fast. Clear sky to cloud in just under an hour. We tried Nepali biryani after that. It's different from what you get in India. Less heavy on the masala and more aromatic. I liked it more than I expected to. We went back to Devi's Falls, but this time for something I'd missed before. Fossil rocks. Actual fossils embedded in the stone. Ancient imprints. Evidence of life from millions of years ago, just sitting there in a tourist spot. Then, we went to the bat cave. I hired a guide. You need one. It's dark and narrow, and there are bats. Inside, I see stalactites hanging from the ceiling like stone icicles. Stalagmites rising from the floor, and sleeping bats, hundreds of them, hanging upside down in clusters above our heads. At the end, you have to crawl. The cave narrows to a tunnel. I squeeze through on hands and knees. It's not for the claustrophobic. But when you come out the other side, the daylight hits different. On the way back to India, we passed a pond with beautiful ducks. The kind of random beautiful thing you only notice when you're not rushing. And a hanging bridge. The sort you stop at just to take photos. And then, the long road. The mountain shrinking in the rear-view mirror. Clouds drifting over the hills. Natural waterfalls streaming down the rock faces. Driving through rain, the wipers get going. Nepal fading behind me. And finally, we reached the Nepal-India border. The same gate I'd crossed in the other direction. But this time I was different. Pokhara had thrown everything at me. Street food, flat tires, flaming tea, white water, a cliff, a bat cave, a flight over Phewa Lake, and a view from the World Peace Pagoda. I think I will think about this for the rest of my life. I drove 2,500 kilometers to get here, and it was worth every single one. This is episode 7 of the Nepal Road Trip. If you're following the journey, thank you. Hit subscribe and there's more coming. The road doesn't end here.